You're listening to Keith Sports News. Hey folks, welcome to KSN episode 72. That's right, cool 72. Yep, I remember I say that because a couple years ago it reminded me that Big Papi, David Ortiz, he's one of the studio guys for MLB on Fox, and he said that to Dusty Baker, who was the Houston Astros manager in 2021, because Dusty was 72 back then. 4 years later, now he's 76. So, yeah, that was the year the Houston Astros went to the World Series against my least favorite team, the Atlanta Braves. And that reminds me, those two teams played each other this past weekend. Yeah. So there you go. It's like they know. It's like they know I have a sports talk channel. Okay, then. All right. So, another big weekend just happened, especially for football. So, I'm going to talk about that first. Okay. We'll start off with the National Football League, because most sports talk podcasts, they'll talk about that first. All right. So, gotta be honest with you guys. I didn't watch much of the NFL this past weekend. I was thinking about it, but then I was like, didn't really felt like watching. But I would usually watch the Sports Center on TSN with Jay Onright, and that's what I did. So, if I miss the games, I get to watch his show, because I do like his show anyways. My favorite sports highlight show on my favorite sports channel, because I'm on that channel a lot. All right. And the only game I really watched was the second late night Monday Night Football game. Why I watched that? Because I was looking forward to that. Okay. It was against two longtime head coaches. So I'll talk about that last, because that was the last game. So, week 2 in the National Football League. The biggest story is Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow unfortunately got injured. An injury already? This is week 2 and he's already injured? Not only is he's injured, he's going to be out for the next 3 months. He won't be back until December. Apparently he needs to get toe surgery. What the heck? That is very, very unfortunate. I've always liked Joe Burrow. He used to play at LSU. From a Bayou Bengal to a Cincinnati Bengal. I was cheering for them when they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Last year the Bengals didn't had a great season for whatever reason. I guess they didn't have a good offense or a great defense. But now he's hurt. He's injured. So See how they do, I guess, without him. 3 months. Wow. He took on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those two players, Lawrence and Burrow, they met in the 2020 college football playoff national championship game. So, yeah. The Bengals still won. They still won without him. The backup quarterback did pretty good. But we'll see. Maybe Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to have another great season. That team always has like a losing record. Yeah, and like remember when Trevor Lawrence played for Clemson? He was like the best quarterback at the time, you know? Sometimes it's like that. A great college quarterback doesn't do well in the pros. But then you have some college quarterbacks that are not super successful, but they get more successful in pro football. For example, Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. People forget he played at Wyoming. Was he well known at his time in Wyoming? No, because not many people watch Wyoming football. Isn't Wyoming the least populated state in the country? That's another thing. Okay. So, but then you got a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, played at Louisville. He won the Heisman, I do remember that. And then, he's a successful quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. People said that him and his team will win the Super Bowl. That can happen, you know. Speaking of the Ravens, they looked really good against the Cleveland Browns, but it's probably going to be another bad season for the Brownies. All right. The LA Rams, they took care of business on the road at the Tennessee Titans. Buffalo Bills, same with them against the New York Jets. How about that New England Patriots Miami Dolphins game? Rivalry for those teams. And there was a back-to-back touchdowns. Yeah, the Dolphins scored a touchdown, and then the Patriots got a kickoff return for a touchdown. Did y'all see the Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel sprinting down the sidelines like he's still on the team as a player? That was funny. They should have hired him last year. I don't know what they were thinking about not hiring him last year. What about the Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel? People are saying that, I heard, because I listened to some of my favorite sports talk podcasts every day, mainly on the weekdays, and I was listening to Shine on Sports with Adam Shine, and he was saying that Mike McDaniel doesn't really know what he's talking about. He might get fired. If he does, then I guess I won't be surprised. '49ers, they won on the road against the New Orleans Saints. Excuse me for a moment. Good thing I muted my mic. Yeah, all of a sudden I had the cough. Yeah, the Saints, I guess, even though the Saints lost again at home, they didn't get blown out in those first two games, so maybe they're a little bit better than what the experts think. Now, the game of the week was another rivalry game between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. No one thought this game would be crazy. Unbelievable. Russell Wilson played so much better than week 1. So this was a Fox game. Joe Davis is the announcer. I find it weird that Joe Davis is not only the Los Angeles Dodgers announcer, he's also the MLB on Fox announcer and the NFL on Fox announcer. I find that weird. But I recognize his voice. He was the announcer for that game. It was a wild, wild atmosphere. The Cowboys, the Giants got a crazy touchdown. A deep, long pass from Russell Wilson for a touchdown. 48-yard pass to put the New York Giants up by 3 points with 25 seconds left. But there was still some time left for the Cowboys to get a field goal. And that's exactly what happened. Brandon Aubrey kicked a 64-yard field goal. Can you believe that? 64 yards. When I saw that, I'm like, wait, is that the record? Somehow, that is not the record. OMG. Because, he kicked that field goal behind the Dallas Cowboys star logo. So that's what kept them alive in the game. And that's how this game went into overtime. And they kicked another field goal, a much shorter one, 46-yarder. I was going to say, when I saw that, I said to myself, what if he misses this field goal, the 46-yarder? But no, he didn't, and that's how the Cowboys won. Wow. It's weird that this is a rivalry for, the younger fans, because this was a big rivalry in the old days. Because, it's New York Giants, popular team. Dallas Cowboys, another popular team. Back in the old days, both teams were great, but recent years, no, they're not really great. And it's weird that they're in the same division because New York and Dallas are very far apart. Like the Dallas Cowboys, they should be in the NFC South. They should be in the NFC South with the Saints, Atlanta Falcons, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that means the Carolina Panthers should be in the NFC East. I mean, that would make more sense, right? That's just me. The Detroit Lions took care of business against the Bears. Where was this Lions team in week 1? I mean, that's the thing. You never know about week 1. Sometimes a team can play like crap. Sometimes a team can play awesome. Week 2 can be the opposite. So, let's see here. Yeah, excuse me, I forgot to give you guys the score here. So Rams defeated the Titans 33-19. Bengals defeated the Jaguars 31-27. Ravens beat the Browns 41-17. Bills beat the Jets 30-10. Patriots defeated the Dolphins 33-27. 49ers beat the Saints 26-21. Cowboys beat the Giants 40-37 in overtime. Lions beat the Bears 52-21. This game was kind of interesting. The Seattle Seahawks against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I wish Aaron Rodgers well because I've enjoyed watching him play when he was with the Green Bay Packers. Not so much when he was with the Jets because the Jets sucked. But I wish him well, even though I don't really like the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I wish him well. If this really is his final season, I wish him well. He didn't play too good in this game. Steelers lost at home 31-17. Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. The well-known moment from that game was the ending. Denver Broncos were going to, the Colts were going to kick the game-winning field goal. So the kicker kicked it. No good. But wait, there was a flag. A penalty. Oh my gosh, why does this happen a lot against the defense? So, Colts get a second try, and of course, they made it. And that's how they won, 29-28. How about Daniel Jones? The Colts are undefeated. 2-0. Carolina Panthers against the Arizona Cardinals. So I assume this matchup was Bryce Young against Kyler Murray. Cardinals won that game 27-22. A couple of youngsters. Super Bowl rematch. It's weird that we had a Super Bowl rematch in week 2. Isn't that weird? Should have happened in week 1. I say that because I remember the Super Bowl 50. 2016, Super Bowl 50. It was the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. And when I say 2016, Super Bowl 50 was part of the 2015 season, okay? So the following season, the 2016 regular season, they had a Super Bowl rematch in week 1. And it wasn't not just on week 1. It wasn't on Monday night. It wasn't on Sunday night. It wasn't on Sunday afternoon. It was on Thursday night. The very first regular season game of 2016 was the Super Bowl 50 rematch. They could have done the same thing. They could have done the same with this Super Bowl rematch. Or have this match Sunday Night Football. But nope. Game's on Fox, so we get to hear Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady again. Yeah. I mean, nothing against those guys. I'm just saying it would have been cool if we had different announcers for the Super Bowl rematch. You know what I'm saying? Now, the Sunday night... okay, so yeah. This game... I did see the highlights for this game. I was thinking about watching it, but... I didn't really... To be honest, I didn't really care which team won. But it was a much closer game. Eagles went on the road and beat those Chiefs 20-17. The last time the Chiefs were 0-2 was in 2014. That's unusual. Wow. This is the first time this has happened in the Patrick Mahomes era, too. And Shine on Sports, Adam Shine asked everyone, "Do you think the Chiefs will still make the playoffs?" I think so. I think they still will. They'll still make the playoffs. I mean, I have them winning the division, but I don't know if they'll win the division now. But I mean, who knows? I mean, sometimes this happens. This has happened before, where a team is off to a not so good start, but then they win like 12 games in a row, and they go to the Super Bowl. You know. Anyways, Sunday Night Football. I was not interested in this matchup. Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. I find it weird that the Vikings had another primetime game. Their first game was the Monday night game, but they were the visiting team. Their second game was another night game, but this time they're the home team. I was not expecting this at all. This score. I thought the Vikings would win. J.J. McCarthy did not play very well. The Vikings only scored 6 points. It was nothing but field goals until the last score of the game, which was from the Falcons. Yeah. So to me, I mean, usually Sunday Night Football has the exciting matchups, but that matchup was not that exciting to me. I'm talking about before the game happened. Now to the Monday Night Football. It's a doubleheader. Oh, yes. On ABC and ESPN. And they're not on at the same time. They're on separate times. Okay. Yes, they were on separate times. They were not on at the same time. So we had a game at 6 p.m. Central, and then the late night game was at 9 p.m. Central. They used to do it like this years ago. Week 1, they would have 2 Monday Night Football games, one at 6 and one at 9. But then recent years, they don't do it like that anymore. Instead, week 2, they would have a doubleheader, but one game would start at a little after 6, and the other game would start at 7:30. Like the normal time for Monday Night Football. But this year, it's not like that. They're going back to the 6 p.m. game and then the 9 p.m. game. To me, it doesn't really matter how they do it. But the first game, I didn't get to see it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. I did see what happened at the end, though. I tuned in at the very end. The Buccaneers got the game-winning touchdown. Baker Mayfield. Yeah, they were down, and they won by 1 point, 20-19. I do have the Buccaneers winning the NFC South. And then the second game, the game that I was looking forward to, Los Angeles Chargers against the Vegas Raiders. And this was on Pete Carroll's 74th birthday. Yeah, I found that out, and I'm like, okay, I gotta cheer for his team. I gotta cheer for the Raiders. Win it for Coach Carroll's birthday. Well, it wasn't a happy birthday. It was not a happy birthday for him. I gotta say, he looks great for his age. I mean, this guy, he's the oldest NFL head coach in history. I think before him, it was Bill Belichick. Now Bill is the oldest college coach in history, I think. So, yeah, Pete Carroll, he's got a lot of energy for his age. So that's great for him. But his team did not play so well. I had a feeling that the Chargers might win. I mean, and that's what happened. They won 20-9. How about the Chargers? They beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil, and then they went to Vegas, and then they win again? Amazing. Yeah, Chris Fowler was the announcer, along with Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky. Chris Fowler, he sounded like he lost his voice a bit. He didn't. His voice sounded different. I think it's because of that crazy SEC game that he called this past Saturday between Georgia and Tennessee. Yeah, 2 nights later, he had to call this game. I guess they couldn't get anyone else. And then you know how, for those of you that usually watch Monday Night Football, the post-game show, it's usually with Scott Van Pelt, because Scott Van Pelt also hosts SportsCenter, his own SportsCenter, and normally he's on the field doing that. No, he wasn't. He was not in DC. He was in New York. Or is it New York or Bristol, Connecticut? But it's like a familiar studio that you would see on I think it's New York. Yeah, I think it's New York because I saw a picture of the Empire State Building in the background. So I think he was in New York, the studio. The studio looks familiar. I think it's the same studio that they do ESPN's Get Up show in the morning with Mike Greenberg. But yeah, Scott Van Pelt was not outside. He was inside in the studio. And I watched the show. I watched the show before I started my recording because his show isn't on loop all night. Sometimes it is, but tonight or last night it wasn't. I really like watching his Monday night shows because it's not only it's after the Monday night games, the post game, recapping those games. It's also my favorite part is the bad beats. I really like watching the bad beats of him talking about the college football games that occurred last Saturday. The total over or under. Yeah. And the craziest one was the Villanova at Penn State, where Villanova scored the last play of the game. Villanova scored a touchdown. I think they were down, like 52-0, and they scored a touchdown, and it turns out that messed up the over or under. You know, like if you're betting on the over or under, it's tough, man. It's tough to bet. I don't bet on sports, but who knows? Maybe one day I might. So there you go. Week 2 recap. Pretty interesting. Now, the Thursday night game is an AFC East rivalry. The Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is weird. The Bills' second home game is also a prime time game. I find that weird. This is week 3, and they get another prime time game. I find that weird. I mean, they could have made this schedule better. I know it's not easy. It's not easy making a great schedule for all 32 teams, but it's kind of strange. I might watch that game. I mean, I like watching Josh Allen play. They might destroy the Dolphins. Yeah. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk, the MVP of football announcing. Chris Fowler, the MVP of ESPN. So I might watch that game if I get a chance. We're going to stay with football, college football. Week 3 recap. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. It's a good thing I mute the mic. They call that the cough button. So, week 3. Interesting games here for week 3. I mainly watched the ABC games. Okay, normally there would be 3 games on ABC. So the first one was, first of all, I woke up early to watch some of SEC Nation on the SEC network because the people were at LSU's campus. Yeah. So I woke up, but then I fell asleep. I fell asleep because I'm not used to waking up early. But yeah. The first ABC game was Wisconsin at Alabama. And Alabama, they were like a 21.5 point favorite. I wasn't sure about that. But it turns out they won. They did win by, if I can find the game. Where is it? Oh, there it is. They won by 24, 38-14. Joe Tessitore and Jesse Palmer were on the call. And I don't think Joe Tessitore is the voice of SmackDown anymore, Friday Night SmackDown. I think he's now the voice of Monday Night Raw. He must have switched roles with Michael Cole, because Michael Cole used to be the voice of Monday Night Raw, and Joe Tessitore used to be the voice of Friday Night SmackDown, so they must have switched. because of Tessitore calling a college football game the next day. That has to be the reason. All right, so Bama, they looked like themselves in their game. The second ABC game was probably the game of the week. Number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee, and Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit were on the call. Normally they would call the night game the primetime ABC game, but they didn't. Game day was in Knoxville. This game was back and forth. And I did pick Tennessee to win. Yeah. I did pick Tennessee to win. And they could have won. This game was close. This game was a shootout, high scoring. That's a lot of college games are like that sometimes. But Tennessee was up 21-7 after the first quarter. But then, I expected Georgia to come back, and they scored 20 unanswered points. They took the lead 27-21 in the third quarter. Then Tennessee scored a touchdown to take the lead 28-27. Fourth quarter comes, Georgia took the lead with a field goal to make it 30-28. Tennessee scored 35-30. And then they scored another field goal to make it 38-30. And then Georgia, down by 8, they need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and that's exactly what happened with 2:32 left. And Tennessee was supposed to kick the game-winning field goal, to win the game. This kick was not even close. And it wasn't a very long field goal. It went wide right, and it wasn't even close. And that's how this game went into overtime. And Tennessee, they kicked a field goal first to make it 41-38. And then Georgia, they just went down the field, scored a touchdown, and that's how they won the game, 44-41. Wow. I think this is 8 wins in a row against Tennessee for Georgia. I think the last time Tennessee beat Georgia was in 2017 or 2016. The Vols, they really could have won this game. Yeah. It's hard to pick against Georgia. That's what I did. I picked against them, and because I do that. Yes, I'm now doing that college pick'em. Yes, I'm now doing that college pick'em. I missed the first 2 weeks because it's a brand new season. I don't know much about these teams, what to expect. Even though I could have done my predictions for fun, but I didn't. Maybe it's because I do this sports talk podcast. But I mainly do Bowl Mania in December. That's the most wonderful time of the year. Not just Christmas, it's Bowl Mania season. Yeah. That's 3 months from now, so yeah. So yeah, you would have to pick 10 games every week, but some of the matchups aren't on the list that should be on the list. For example, Florida at LSU. Why isn't that game on the college pick'em list? That's weird. I find that weird. But anyways, I heard that the fans were booing Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns, even though they won against UTEP. UTEP stands for Texas El Paso. This game is also probably a game of the week. Texas A&M, number 16. Texas A&M against number 8 Notre Dame. I didn't see this game. The game was on at the same time as the LSU game, and my favorite CFL team was also playing that night, which I'll get into that a little later. I did pick Notre Dame to win. For whatever reason, they did not play last week. Notre Dame didn't play in week 2. I don't know why. It's kind of strange having a bye in week 2. So I thought they would win because they had a bye, and the game is in at Notre Dame Stadium. Well, they were going to win. Okay, they were going to win. This game was tight from start to finish, basically. It was a high-scoring game. Yeah, here's the key factor to this. Notre Dame scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter to make it 40-34. But for whatever reason, they didn't get the extra point. Apparently, because I didn't see the game, I'm looking at the ESPN app, the game recap. Apparently, Notre Dame, they went for the 2-point conversion. I don't know why, but they missed it. So Texas A&M, all they need is a touchdown and the extra point to win, and that's basically what happened with 13 seconds left. A crazy touchdown pass. A&M wins 41-30. How does that happen? Notre Dame's 0-2. When's the last time that happened? The team that went to the national championship game. Wow. Just like the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that went to the Super Bowl 0-2. Wow. Speaking of wow, unranked Vanderbilt beat number 11 South Carolina on the road 31-7. No one saw that coming. No one had Vanderbilt beating South Carolina on the road by 24 points. Now this is probably the upset of the week. Georgia Tech, unranked Georgia Tech, beat number 12 Clemson by a game-winning field goal, 24-21. Clemson is now 1-2. When was the last time that happened? Yeah, unbelievable. Apparently, number 13 Oklahoma, they played against Temple in Philadelphia, home of the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. The Sooners crushed those Owls 42-3. Another big SEC matchup between Arkansas at number 17 Ole Miss. Another pretty high-scoring game. Ole Miss won 41-35. My father was watching that game because he went to Arkansas. Anything else here? I would mainly watch the college football final highlight show in the middle of the night. You know, they had Matt Berry, Joey Galloway, and who's that third guy that replaced Dan Mullen? I think his name is EJ Manuel. Yeah. I really like that show. However, they're in a different studio. That's like a big change. You know, I'm so used to the former studio that they were in. Which one is a bigger surprise? Vanderbilt beating South Carolina on the road 31-7, or Georgia Tech beating Clemson 24-21? might have to go with, I don't know, they're both huge. I might have to go with the Georgia Tech win because people were saying that Clemson is like a top 5 team even though they lost to LSU, you know? Yeah, South Carolina's ranked number 11 and remember, that's their rivalry, Clemson against South Carolina, Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, that's their rivalry. I'm gonna have to go with the Georgia Tech one. And the fans, they stormed the field, they went crazy. All right, so now I'm going to check the rankings for the first time. I'm going to start off from number 25. I think Vanderbilt's going to be ranked because they're actually undefeated. Let's take a look at this here. Wow. Dropped from rankings. South Carolina, they were ranked number 11. They're no longer in the top 25. Same with number 12, Clemson. And number 18, South Florida. South Florida, they got crushed by Miami. Number 25 is USC. They're not ranked. They were not. This is their first time being ranked this season. They're 3-0. Notre Dame is still in the top 25. They're number 24. They are 0-2. They dropped down 16 spots. Wow. All right, number 23 is Missouri. They're 3-0. Number 22 is Auburn. They're also 3-0. 21 is Michigan, 2-1. Vanderbilt is number 20, and they're 3-0. First time they're ranked this season. Indiana is 3-0. This is crazy. I remember Indiana and Vanderbilt years ago. They were the two bad teams, you know? Like, that would have been the toilet bowl. The toilet bowl. The two worst teams in the big Power 5 conference. But now they're both undefeated. Georgia Tech is number 18. They're 3-0. First time they're ranked, and they're already number 18. 17 is Texas Tech. They're 3-0. 16 is Utah. They're also 3-0. Utah and Texas Tech, they went up 4 spots. Tennessee, they're still ranked 15. They did not drop a spot. Usually that's what happens when you lose. You drop. Not them. They're still number 15. Alabama is now number 14. They went up 5 spots, 2-1. Ole Miss, number 13, 3-0, up 4 spots. Iowa State's number 12, 4-0, up 2 spots. Oklahoma's 3-0, number 11, also up 2 spots. Number 10 is Texas A&M, 3-0, up 6 spots. Illinois is number 9. Can you believe that? Illinois is in the top 10. Texas went down 1 spot to number 8, 2-1. Florida State went up 3 spots. They're 2-0. Oregon went down 2 spots. I wonder why that is. Did they barely win their game? Who did they face? Oh, they faced Northwestern on the road, 34-14. But I guess people thought they were going to win by a bunch of points. The rankings don't really mean much still because it's still early in the season. Georgia is now number 5. They're 3-0. They went up 1 spot. Miami also went up 1 spot to number 4. They're also 3-0. LSU remains number 3. They're 3-0. Penn State's number 2. They're 3-0. And the defending national champions, Ohio State, number 1, 3-0. So there you have it. Rankings for the college football. Now to the Canadian Football League. I know, so much football talk. This is how it's going to be until probably for the rest of the year. You know, even after the CFL season ends, still going to be a lot of football talk. So, week 15. Week 15, there was a doubleheader on Friday and Saturday. So, Friday night, Five Tayer's favorite team, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, took on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I did pick the Blue Bombers to win because it was not only I wanted them to win, but it was more of a must win for that team. But they didn't win. Tiger Cats won 32-21, and then the second game, Ottawa Redblacks against the BC Lions, a rematch from Week 14. I kind of fell asleep from that game, but I woke up, the game was still going, so I mainly watched the second half of that game. I did pick the Lions to win. I knew they would win, and they won 38-27. Even though most likely the Redblacks and the Lions are not gonna be able to make the playoffs. Playoffs? Saturday, I was thinking about watching this game, but I didn't. I actually missed it. The Edmonton Elks at the Toronto Argonauts. So you know what I did? Before I started my recording, I watched the highlights on their YouTube channel, and what a game. What a crazy game. This game was tight. They met earlier in the season in Edmonton, and I believe Edmonton won that matchup. This time it's in Toronto, and this time the Argonauts got revenge, where they win by 1 point, 31-30. And this game, the second Saturday game, the last game of Week 15, my favorite team, the Montreal Alouettes, against the best team, Saskatchewan Roughriders. The game was in Regina. These two teams met in Montreal earlier this season. Roughriders, they won that game easily. This time they're in Regina, and the weather was wet. It was raining, it was wet, and this was a high-scoring game. Normally a game on a wet field is normally not this high scoring. I thought the Roughriders would win this game easily, because they're the best team in Montreal. They've been struggling big time. They lost 5 in a row. But somehow, they scored 48 points on the road against the best team in the league? How the heck does that happen? Yeah, I watched some of that game, but then I watched the highlights. I wanted to see how they got all those points. I mean, I can't believe it. That might be the most surprising thing in this CFL season, regular season. After that, it's unpredictable. It's hard to make your predictions for the CFL. It is unpredictable. I'm glad the Alouettes won. I'm like, wow, everything went right for them. Because last week, the week before, nothing went right for this team. They lost 5 in a row. And they beat the best team on the road? Put up 48 points? That's insane. That is crazy. It was a must-win for them anyways. Now to the standings. So the East Division, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are still in first place. They're 8-5. Alouettes are 6-7. Argonauts are 5-8. Redblacks are 4-9. In the West Division, the Roughriders are still in first place, 10-3. Stampeders, they didn't play last weekend. They're 8-4. Blue Bombers are 6-7. Same with the Lions. And the Elks are 5-8. Wow. Argonauts, they won 3 in a row. And the Blue Bombers lost 3 in a row. Wow. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. The WNBA playoffs have begun. I normally don't watch WNBA, but I might try to watch some of it if I remember. Yeah, for whatever reason, their playoff began on an NFL Sunday, which is pretty ridiculous. It should start tonight. It should start on Tuesday night. I don't know why they didn't thought of that. Yeah. Which means, because after the WNBA season comes to an end, that's usually when the NBA season begins. Yeah. There's a women's national hockey league. I guess they do the same thing. They would have their season during the NHL's off season. And the NHL season is also coming back pretty soon in the month of October. October is going to be a crazy month in sports. You got so many things, so many events happening on that month. All right. So the Major League Baseball, their season is now less than 2 weeks until it ends, the regular season. Yep. So, going to check the standings on this one here. Because a lot can still change. Oh, the big news is that the Philadelphia Phillies clinched. The Phillies have clinched, and they also they're going to make the playoffs. They won their division. Yeah, amazing. To the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays are still in first place with 88 wins, 62 losses. New York Yankees are 5 games behind. Boston Red Sox are 6 games behind. Yankees and Red Sox, both teams will probably make the playoffs as a wild card spots. American League Central, the Detroit Tigers are still in first place. Most likely they're going to win that division. They're 85-65. The Cleveland Guardians are 6.5 games behind. Chicago White Sox, 57-94. American League West, it is a tight battle between the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros. The Mariners are technically in first place. The Astros are a half a game behind. And those two teams will have a huge 3-game series this weekend. And that means they will play on Sunday night baseball. Most likely, I will watch that. I would have to watch that because the season's getting important. Really, really important. Texas Rangers are 3.5 games behind. And right now, the Houston Astros are facing the Rangers. And they did beat them on Monday night. So most likely, Houston Astros are going to they're facing the Texas Rangers, and then this weekend they're facing the Seattle Mariners. That's going to determine, most likely that will determine which team will be the wild card team and which team will win the division. Because I don't think all 3 of those teams will make the playoffs. One of those teams is going to be out. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll see. National League East, the Phillies have clinched that division, 90 wins, 61 losses. The New York Mets, they're 77-73, 12.5 games behind. What the heck happened to this team? People are saying, I heard if the Mets somehow don't make the playoffs, that'll be like the biggest collapse ever. Do I want them to make the playoffs? I do. I do want them to make the playoffs. I mean, this team was in the National League Championship Series last year. They might still have a chance, but not if they keep losing games. American League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers, they clinched the playoff spot. 91 wins, 59 losses. The Chicago Cubs are 5 games behind. Most likely they're also going to make the playoffs. And to the West Division, the LA Dodgers are in first place, 84 wins, 66 losses. San Diego Padres are 2 games behind. Colorado Rockies, 41 wins and 109 losses. I guess on the bright side for Rockies fans, most likely they're not going to break the record for the most losses in modern baseball history. The streaks. Blue Jays have won 5 in a row. Mariners have won 9 in a row. That's how they caught up to the Houston Astros. Oh, the New York Mets, they finally won a game the other night. Yeah. So, most likely, I think the Blue Jays will win that division. And I think both the Yankees and Red Sox will be wild card teams. That's 3 teams from the American League East. So 12 teams make the postseason. 6 from each league. The Detroit Tigers will make it. So that's 4. And either Seattle or Houston will win the West, which means it's going to come down to the final spot from the American League West. I think that's what's going to happen. Well, as of right now, the way things are going, but a lot can still change. National League, Phillies are going to make it. Brewers are going to make it. Dodgers are going to make it. Okay. Padres will also make it. Cubs will also make it. The Mets, they're going to be lucky if they make it. If not the Mets, somehow it might be the Cincinnati Reds, Arizona Diamondbacks, or San Francisco Giants. But I want the Mets to be in it. I mean, I don't know what happened to this team. You got Pete Alonso, you got Juan Soto. You know, great hitting team. Francisco Lindor, you know what I'm saying? Ugh. What if this team gets hot and they go all the way to the World Series? If that really happens, that'll be a crazy comeback story in the history, at least in my lifetime. Wow. Unbelievable. Last thing, real quick. I almost forgot to mention this. I did watch that big boxing fight on Saturday night. Late Saturday night in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Between Terrence, what's his last name? Crawford, I think? Against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. That was a huge fighting event. Because here's how I found out about this. Stephen A. Smith. Because I listened to his new show. He was talking about it. And, yeah, I only watched the last match. I didn't watch the whole event because of the college football. But, yeah, it was a great fight. 12 rounds. It went all 12 rounds. Vegas, huge crowd. Normally you don't see boxing events in stadiums. You would normally see WWE events in stadiums nowadays because it's so popular. Michael Buffer was the ring announcer for that main event. And the shirt that I'm wearing, WCW Monday Nitro, he's also the main event ring announcer for that program. And it ended so late, but Saturday night I stayed up late, and then 2 nights later they brought back the football field for the Raiders. All right, folks, I'll be back on Friday. See ya. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.